what type of van to buy if you're thinking of starting van life, and how to plan for a budget if you're going on long trips. I'll be answering some of these questions today, so stay on here with me. Let me introduce ourselves. We are Steve and Az, and we travel full-time in our self-converted camper van, so come on with us. Unfortunately, today I'm not gonna be answering these questions with my other half because Steven has a load of work to do. I think you guys have noticed that we have been a little bit inconsistent with the times and the days that we post videos on YouTube. We started with 2 videos a week, but we thought it may be better to do longer videos, 1 video a week. And we want to see how this works. That being said, let's jump into the first question. What type of van should you buy if you're thinking of starting van life? For us, we went for a Ram ProMaster because it's a wide van. It's super square, but it's also cheaper. We did think of a Mercedes van, but they're very skinny and they are very, very expensive. I don't really remember the reason why we didn't go with a Ford Transit, but space-wise, inside, we're happy with the ProMaster. The problem with the Ram ProMasters is that they're not 4x4, and our van in specific is not a diesel van. They are not as cheap to travel like a Mercedes would be. Well, the question is, are you planning on off-roading a lot? Because if you are, maybe you should consider getting a 4x4 van like a Mercedes Sprinter or even a Ford Transit, because you find them 4x4 as well. And it's not just because a lot of people go for the high roof vans like we did with ours. That means that you need a high roof van. It really depends on what you want. Should you go for a low roof or a high roof van? We've met someone that actually lived in a high roof van and opted for a shorter roof van later on down the road because they preferred that. With us, at least with me, I know I would never be able to be in a low roof van because I get very claustrophobic. A Mercedes, for me, is a no-no because they are too skinny. My husband, on the other hand, prefers the Sprinter vans because of their resellability, and they are much better built, and they are 4x4, and they're diesel, and you save a lot of money on fuel when you travel. The other thing you should consider is what type of weather do you live in? Here in Canada, at least in British Columbia, is cold and rainy for most of the year. So for us, a very small van wouldn't really be good because that means we would be inside most of the times. During summertime, like now, today is gonna be super hot. These days have been very, very hot. You can sit outside. If you live in a warmer climate, you can pretty much extend your living quarters to the outside. But the same cannot be done if it's rainy and cold outside. So you really need to think about that. We love our van. Our van is a 159 wheelbase, not the extended version. And we think the space inside is great. But when it's really, really cold and rainy outside, it gets a little tight. So if you're a couple and you're looking for a van, you really need to think this through because the weather do play a huge factor on van life. If you are buying a van that's already converted, there is something you really need to pay attention to, which is the quality of the build, like waterproofing the wood so it doesn't create mold. Also, what's the quality of the materials used in the van build and how well converted was the van? We've met a couple that bought a van conversion, and there were a lot of things that were wrong with that conversion, so you gotta be careful with that. Some people have problems with the piping or the electrics being very iffy, not enough windows or too many windows, not enough ventilation. Another question is, how do we plan for budget to start van life? We never really planned for budget. We have been pretty bad with that. To be honest, we don't even know the full amount we have spent so far with a conversion, and we kind of lost a bit of money on the conversion because we weren't really sure of how we wanted to do it initially. So we ended up rebuilding some of the things, which is not really clever. So don't repeat our same mistakes. Be intentional with your build. And that's one of the reasons why we are living in a van before it's fully finished, because someone gave us the very intelligent idea to do that. Because then we can have an idea of what we really want inside the van and how we really want things to be. So now we have a much better idea of what the final build will be. And as far as budgeting for travel, we have not been very good with that either, but we try not to spend. We are not really big spenders. We try to eat at home as much as possible. We do end up spending more money with RV campgrounds than we would really like, but right now that's what we are doing. And the money you save by not eating out, and it's a lot healthier too. You never know what type of ingredients people use when they cook. Emergencies, thank God we never faced any emergencies or things of the kind, but it's always helpful to carry some spare cash with you. You never know when your credit card will not work when you are in the middle of nowhere and you need to buy gas and food. The other question is, what essential amenities do I need in my van? Example, a bed, kitchen, bathroom. Our kitchen, we made the decision to not have a built-in cooktop or stove because it takes up too much space on the countertop. When we had a travel trailer, that was a big pain for me because the cooktop was always taking too much space on the countertop. For the van, we just went to Walmart and we bought a very, very cheap coil cooktop. I think we paid $12, $20 at most for it, and it works great. We also have an Instant Pot. I use that a lot. It's really, really useful. We also have a toaster oven. For us, it's very useful. We are 2 people and I do use the oven a lot. We also have a sink and a faucet, and that's pretty much what we have for a kitchen. So as far as bathroom, do you really need a bathroom or a washroom if in Canada in a van? Very good question. Right now we are staying at an RV park, and we stay at RV parks most of the times, and they do have showers. So for us, a shower in a van has not been big necessity. Although we are gonna have a shower in a van, we have a place dedicated for it. For us, we do think it's essential to have a shower in a van. A lot of people really don't mind not having it. Some people just camp near lakes and rivers and they go for a bathe in the river. Some people don't even have a kitchen in their van. Some people just have it very basically built. It all boils down again to your needs, what your needs are, what do you want, what you're happy with. That's why for us it was so helpful to start with a travel trailer, because we could have an idea of what we wanted to have in a van. But one thing you need to be sure is that you have a good bed. Our bed is a double size bed, something like that. I will correct here if I'm wrong. We bought 2 mattress toppers. They are latex and they are medium firm. They were the best decision we ever made, and I think they are pretty much one of the best parts of the van. It's so comfortable. When we go to Airbnbs, we sometimes struggle sleeping because we do miss our bed, and our bed is great. We didn't want to go with memory foam because memory foam kind of dies after a few years, and latex would just be the same thing for pretty much forever. Plus, it's anti-mold and anti-mildew, which is great. If anything was to go moldy, it would be the covers. So before anything, decide on your bed first, because that's gonna be the most important part of your build. Even if anything else doesn't work in your van, if your bed works, you're gonna be a happy person. Even if everything else was to be beautiful in your van, but you had a bad bed, you would be a miserable person. So another question is on insulation. How do you know your van is insulated enough? Well, there was a time on YouTube when everybody was making vans, and you know when someone makes a mistake and they put it on YouTube, you get a lot of people copying that same mistake, and years later you discover that was actually a terrible thing to copy because it creates so much trouble. Years back, there were a lot of people insulating their van with Reflectex, and Reflectex is not that much of a bad idea. There is a way you can use it, and a lot of people were using Reflectex over their insulation to kind of vapor barrier that, but it was trapping a lot of moisture. So years later, when a lot of people decided to rebuild their van, they found out that there was actually a lot of mold growing behind their walls, and we copied that too. We kind of started replicating the same mistake, but then we got told by a builder that we shouldn't do that because it traps moisture. There are some places where the Reflectex will be very helpful, but it helps your van not getting too hot with the sun, but as soon as it gets cold, you're gonna freeze. So that being said, what type of insulation can you use? There are many types. There are foam boards, there is ship's wool, so we ended up using Thinsulate. Thinsulate does not have such a high R value if you compare it to foam boards or even foam, but it has been great for us. Thinsulate is what they use in jackets, they use it in cars. If we were ever going to build a second van, we would probably use Thinsulate again. There is also rock wool, which we are not that much familiar with, but we do know people that have used it. For us, it's more like, what can we insulate the van with that is not going to off gas and cause us to be sick years down the road? So different insulation materials have different R values, and it's important for you to look at that. What about the power system? That's another question. It's so hot. So right now we have this Jackery that we use to power the laptops, run the fridge. It will work for about a day and a half, and that was when we were not using the fans. We have 2 max air fans on the roof, so it would be interesting to see how long it lasts with the fans on. Jackeries are great because you can just carry them inside a gym or a library and recharge them. Especially for us, we stay mostly at RV parks. Recharging them is not a difficult job. We don't have solar panels currently. We are toying with the idea of which solar panels to get. So if you have any suggestions of solar panels, we are thinking of mounting solar panels on the roof of the van. We know that for Canada is not a great idea because of the sun, especially for British Columbia. Colombia, but it would be interesting to have solar panels on the roof when we travel to warmer countries. Some people just have smaller solar panels that they charge up their jackeries. We would be open to that. Seems to be a great idea. So how do we find safe and legal places to park overnight? And what are the best apps and resources for navigating and finding services? Well, there are two apps that we use quite often. One is iOverlander, which tells you places where you can use the sandy dump, park overnight, places that are safe, places that are considered dangerous and you should avoid. I believe it also shows you public showers and things like that. The other app is Harvest Hosts. It's basically people that have farms and they allow you to stay in their property for a few days. And the thing with Harvest Hosts, because the hosts are not making money of you staying in their land, you're basically staying for free, you should help their business. Like if they are a chicken farm, you buy chicken or you buy eggs from them. You pretty much buy what they produce. We used Harvest Hosts for the very first time the other day and it was a very good experience. The host was super kind. It was a golf course. Unfortunately, we don't even golf, but he was okay with that. Someone asked us more details on the internet, but unfortunately, Steven is the guy who has all the answers. But don't worry, he's gonna be explaining this to you very, very soon. Do you guys have any more questions? If you do, please leave them in the comments down below. In the description, there are a few links where you can receive notifications for future videos, including our email list. So if you're not subscribed to the email list, click the link in the description below. Also subscribe to the channel and hit the bell notifications so you can receive all the new videos that YouTube hardly ever sends to people. Thank you so much for watching. Keep well, God bless, and bye-bye.